In the same way that the Pharisees found it more important to keep up appearances and to follow rules and to put material things over people and giving the law more importance than the people, when the law was for the people in the first place and not the people for the law. Just as the Pharisees lost sight of the love of God, even so do parents forget how to love their children. As the years of work and stress and just life begin to take their toll, they start to forget how precious it was to bring a child into the world. And instead, somewhere along the line, their love is substituted by discipline. I love you, so I'm going to discipline you for your own good. And instead of hugging and loving, they show their love through sacrifice, saying, this is how much I love you, that I sacrifice and work so hard for you. God wants mercy and love and not sacrifice, and so do your kids. They don't understand what it is to work a 10-hour shift. They can't comprehend that enough to appreciate it. All they can comprehend is how you treat them when you come home from work. And they say, look, what I do at school. And you don't even look at it. You just turn on the TV and tell them, watch cartoons. Let the cartoons give you the attention you really want from me. I see so many parents like this. They're so stressed out and so caught up with giving their children rules to keep them in line, to keep them in order, in the same way that the Pharisees gave the people the law. Parents are too caught up in giving their children tasks for daily life, and keeping them clean and keeping them organized and pressuring them to be on time and pressuring them to keep up appearances, keeping them structured and trying to keep them from being a nuisance and just wanting the kids out of the way. Trying to prepare a child for life is no easy task, but we can't forget that all these things are for the good of the children in the first place and for their well-being. Not for them to be slaves to these things, not for them to be subjugated to these things. The rules are for the children and not the children for the rules. When keeping the house in order becomes more important to you than your child and how they feel, then guess what? You're showing them that you love something that's material more than them. That's the example you're giving them to follow. You're showing them that something they can't feel or need should take precedence over them. That people that they love are not as important as our hard-earned possessions, and that people are not as important as how they feel when under stress. But the truth is that people are made in God's image. They are precious to God and are eternal. But the other things, they just pass away. And yeah, when you put years of work and money and sweat over something, like a car or a house, well, naturally, we're going to covet that thing to some degree. But I ask you to examine yourself if you're in the perfect will of God. Why is a house bought for? Is it not for your family? To put a roof over your heads? Was the house not for the family and not the family for the house? Is not a car to transport you and your family where they need to go? And not for you to have luxury and style? And why do you get a job? Is it not to give you the means to support you and your family? Is the job not for you, or are you for the job? Are you working to keep up your family, or are you working to keep up a lifestyle, or to keep up your preferences? Mothers who want to spoil themselves with an expensive purse or nice clothes while their kids got no milk in the fridge for their cereal. And are the amount of hours you're working affecting your family life? And is it really necessary? When you stand before God, will He ask you to give an account of how well you did at work? Or will he be more interested in how you treated your family, or even the people you work with at your job? But to some people, the means to an end becomes more important than the end result that was originally intended. Somewhere along the way, it's not about getting to your destination anymore, but about walking in your own ways. Don't let material possessions become more important than your relationship with your family, or with anyone for that matter. Don't hurt your family's feelings over your car or over your house. Don't crush their self-esteem, scolding them over and over for things that pass away. Because it's all about pride, and for keeping up appearances, and for creating the illusion of success, like the Pharisees did, trying to impress our neighbors at our family's expense, when maybe we should be trying to impress our own families instead. Provoking our neighbor to covet and think the grass is greener on the other side. I'm talking about when the sounds of laughter and play are so irritating to you that you can't even be happy until your kids are miserable, because you want them to be still and not move, like they might as well not even exist. But they didn't ask to be here in the first place. There's a time to discipline your kids and a time to love them and be attentive to them and to consider their perspective. Put yourself in their little shoes. When you take them to that fancy restaurant and want them not even to move or even make a noise, so they just gotta sit there and be like little statues for an hour. Did you invite them into your life? Did they ask to come into this world? Are they not the consequence of your own actions? Why do people feel the need to subjugate their children to their schedule, to their lifestyle, to their relationships that they're trying to build, when you're supposed to be building around your children instead? As you structure and discipline your kids, weigh your choices on the balances and consider the cost first. Consider what price will it be to discipline them. What will it cost them? Will it cost them their self-esteem, or their joy, or even their relationship with you? If it's costing that much, then your scale of discipline and love is off kilter. It's off balance. A person's relationship with father and mother are probably the most influential of all relationships. And we all only have one childhood, one brief moment in our lives when we can be innocent and carefree and see the beauty in life and dare to dream the impossible before life begins to crush all that. But before that happens, let love be your child's foundation. Not just rules and keeping appearances and taking care of material things and being obedient and not being a nuisance, just being quiet and out of the way. Did God want us to be robots? Did He not want us to have joy and peace? Or did He just give us rules and expect us to be obedient even though we're miserable? Did He not give us rules for our own sakes and for the sake of others around us? Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not covet, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt love thy brother as thyself. And I know it's not easy. It's not an easy task preparing your children for life and all its difficulties, but there's more to life than keeping appearances so you can fit in society and teaching them responsibility so they can someday keep a job. Ideally, you want responsibility and discipline to be well grounded into them. You want them prepared and seasoned for life, even for a future marriage and keeping up a future household. You know, there's a lot of challenges ahead, but there's also an afterlife ahead that's more important. Parents, when you come home from a long day and have your kids running around and fighting, remember to take a breath and face the challenge with love. Because your job isn't over yet when you come home from work. God is going to hold you accountable of the kids you decided to make. Remember your own upbringing. Or for example, picture the generation who grew up in the 80s and the 90s. How we were so heavily influenced by style and by music and by movies and by television. And most parents saw us walking so disorderly and scolded us and tried to correct us to the point that most of us just rebelled and went deeper into our music. Many of us got so lost in the music and in the styles and in the times and in our expression to escape our reality. And through rap songs and rock songs, we went out to parties and concerts and got into drugs and alcohol, and that led to all this stuff like depression, and became so impulsive, feeding the flesh, always living in our emotions, jumping in and out of relationships, struggling to keep relationships and marriages. The devil, of course, being the angel of music, used music to destroy many lives, and he continues to do so if we don't learn how to love and guide our youth and learn from past generations' mistakes.